Okay, in this file, we have a simple program that kind of mimics the basics of having two customers who can buy items and then get a report of what they bought. At the top here, I have a bunch of functions, which I'll explain in a bit. Then I have this block of code here that is under this if expression, if statement. In the other file, test.py, that I ran earlier, I just wrote my code directly here, and I can add more codes here if I want to. Once I run this file, it's just going to run everything line by line for me, and we can do that. We can do that in Python. You don't need to put things under a specific block or something. You can start writing your code right here, and you can run your code. But here, I am actually adding codes under this if statement, which is called a main guard. This line checks if this file specifically is being run directly, and if it is, everything under it will be run line by line. So I'm just going to use this format from now on in this course just to organize my code better. Keep that in mind. The whole idea of object-oriented programming is to organize the code better so it makes more sense, and things are divided into specific parts that are more meaningful. So for that reason and that reason only, if you see me doing something like this, don't get confused. So basically I am telling Python that as soon as I run this file, you gotta start running the codes that I have under this block of code should get run first. As you can see, I started the code by defining variables for two customers. I have the name, the address, and the purchase, which is a list which is supposed to hold a list of items this person buys. And then the same variables, just with a small change for another customer, obviously with different data that I am saving inside these variables. And then I have a bunch of functions here that, as you can see, I'm calling those functions here. So for the first customer, I defined this customer1 buy item that gets the item ID and the quantity. Basically, it just multiplies that together, and then it adds it to the list of purchases for the customer one, and then it returns true. And then I also have this method that reports everything that is already saved inside the purchases, the list of purchases for customer one. Basically, it goes through the list, adds comma between them, and then it's going to format everything in a with this with the name of the customer at the beginning, and it returns it as a string. So right here, when I get that result, I'm just going to print it on a display. So for the second customer, as you can see, I have the same exact code and functions. The only things that are different are the function names, like the name for each customer, and the variable name. So instead of saying customer one, now I have to say customer two. So here's the question. What if I want to add a third customer? That means I would have to copy all these variables and functions again and just change the name. What if I don't know how many customers I'll have, or if I want to support 1,000 customers? Should be able to see a big picture. Like at some point, this approach becomes very messy and ineffective. Let me run this code so you can see the result at this point. There we go. So the first customer is buying apples and a bread, and then when we get the report, it shows the name of the customer and the purchase list for that customer. Same thing for the second customer. This customer only bought milk. So here is the result. So the code is working and everything. Obviously, this code works. It gives us what we want. But this code very quickly becomes disorganized and repetitive as the number of customers are growing. So this is where we kind of need to go back up and talk about the cons. So very soon, as the number of customers are getting larger, this code becomes disorganized, very repetitive. Now imagine you want to fix one of those functions and update something in those functions. You have to just go and repeat it for all the other functions. Um, Once you have your code set up like this, it's going to be very hard to use this file along with other projects. Maintaining this file is going to be very hard. Um, and once we have the data and functions separated, it's going to get very tricky to keep track of data in relation to one specific customer. Also, finding a problem also now become hassle now. So debugging now is going to get very complex. So this is obviously not a good way of designing our code and organizing things.